Imagine every street corner, every public square, every government building watched, not by your own government's cameras, but by systems built, maintained, and potentially monitored by a foreign authoritarian state. That's not a hypothetical. It's already happening, from Quito to Johannesburg. Ecuador was one of the first countries outside China to adopt a nationwide Chinese surveillance infrastructure. Beginning around 2011, the government signed contracts with Chinese state-linked firms, primarily CEIEC, to build a system called ECU 911. Thousands of cameras, facial recognition, real-time data feeds to police and intelligence agencies. Ecuador's government called it a public safety revolution. What they didn't fully advertise was the architecture underneath. Servers accessible to Chinese technicians, contracts requiring ongoing Chinese maintenance, and data protocols that security researchers later flagged as deeply opaque. South Africa followed a similar path. Huawei built out smart city surveillance networks in Johannesburg and other urban centers, framed as crime reduction tools. The pitch was compelling. Rising urban violence, overwhelmed police, and here's Beijing offering a turnkey solution at competitive prices. But security analysts noted the same pattern. Chinese firms retaining back-end access, limited local oversight of data flows, and contracts structured to create long-term technical dependency. This is the business model. China exports surveillance infrastructure to governments that are either struggling with genuine security challenges or looking for tools to monitor their own populations, or both. The financing is often concessional. The technology is subsidized by the Chinese state, and the contracts lock recipient governments into maintenance relationships that are almost impossible to exit cleanly. It's not charity. It's strategic entrenchment. And the implications for Southeast Asia are direct and urgent. Cambodia has already accepted Chinese surveillance systems. Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines have all seen Chinese firms pitch smart city and public security packages. The sales pitch is always the same: affordable, effective, modern. What's left unspoken is what happens to the data, who can access it, under what legal framework, and whether the host government retains genuine sovereign control. Here's the core problem. When a state's surveillance infrastructure is built and maintained by a foreign government's companies legally required under Chinese law to cooperate with Chinese intelligence on demand, that state's internal security data is no longer entirely its own. It's a sovereignty question, dressed up as a procurement decision. Ecuador eventually began auditing and restructuring its Chinese surveillance contracts after internal security concerns were raised. South Africa's relationships with Huawei have faced growing scrutiny from domestic civil society. These are signs that pushback is possible, but only when governments and citizens understand what they've actually signed up for. The lesson is simple. Surveillance infrastructure is not a neutral commodity. It's a geopolitical tool, and any government in Southeast Asia or anywhere that accepts it without rigorous data sovereignty protections, independent audits, and clear contractual limits on foreign access is trading a piece of its sovereign independence for a discount on cameras. That's a deal worth looking at very carefully before you sign.